Hi you guys, this is the answer key for the assignment in Canvas called Ordering Rational Numbers. Please make sure that you are trying these assignments before you access the answer key. It really doesn't do you any good to copy down my answers. Like for this class, remember your grade is based on your quizzes and tests, and so the learning is what's important. That's why I have given you the answer key, is so that you can practice it on your own and then you can check the answer key to make sure that you've done it correctly. So with that said, let's go ahead and look at this answer key. This homework was called Ordering Rational Numbers. Remember that when you are going to put rational numbers in order, they either have to all be fractions or they have to all be decimals in order to be able to compare them the easiest. Okay, for question number 1, you were given a whole bunch of fractions, but in order to compare them, you would have to find a common denominator for all of these fractions and make them equivalent fractions. And that, to me, is a lot more work than changing them all to decimals. Okay, so what I did here is I changed each of these fractions to decimals so that we could see their value. And then once we know their value, it's easy to arrange them from least to greatest. Okay, so 11/15 as a decimal was 0.73 repeating. 7/8 as a decimal is 0.875 repeating. 2/3 as a decimal, hopefully this is one that you have memorized, is 0.66 repeating. And sorry, 0.875 is not repeating. 1/5 as a decimal is 0.2. 1/7 as a decimal is 0.142857. This was actually a non-repeating, never-ending. Well, actually, this probably does repeat, but you would have to go to a lot of decimal places to find out where it repeats. But basically, the value of this we're going to need to know is 0.1428. That will give us enough information to be able to order this. And then 5/6 is 0.83 repeating. Okay. Now, from there, we needed to order these from least to greatest. So from least to greatest, the 0.142857, that was 1/7. That is our very smallest decimal. When I'm looking at decimals, I always think about decimals as money. And so money is always rounded to the hundredth spot. So if we look at this right here, 0.14, if we round that to the hundredth spot, that would be like 14 hundredths, 0.14, which is like 14 cents. And that would be the very smallest decimal that we have here. Okay. And then the next one would be this one right here, the 0.20. That would be like 20 cents. And that as a fraction is 1/5. And then we have the 0.66. So rounded, that would be like 67 cents, because remember the 6 is going to continue to repeat. So that would be our 2/3. And then we would have this one right here, which would be like estimated to like 73 cents. And that was our 11/15. And then we had our 5/6, which was the equivalent to the 0.83 repeating. Okay, so that'd be like 83 cents. And then our 7/8, that was our equivalent to our 0.875. So if we rounded the 0.875 to the hundredth spot, the number after that is 5 or bigger, so that would round to like 88 cents. Okay, so a good way to think about the value of decimals is just to think about it money-wise. And if you round to the hundredths and think about it as cents, that can help you to know which is the least and which is the greatest. Okay, now on the next one, you can see that these were the exact same fractions, only they were negative, okay? And remember that the bigger the negative number is, the less value that it has, okay? So if we have a number line here, remember that as you move to the right on the number line, the numbers increase in value. And as you move to the left on the number line, the numbers decrease in value. Okay, so if a number is to the left of another number, it actually is of less value. So on number 2, when it says put the following numbers in order from least to greatest, on number 1, 7/8 was our greatest. But because it's negative, that means that it is going to be our least. Okay? If we do this with integers instead of rational numbers, it might make sense a little bit more. So let's say we have a -1, and then over here we have a -6, for example. Okay, so -6, 6 is a bigger number, but because it's to the left of -1 on the number line, it's of less value. Okay, and if we were to put these rational numbers from number 1 on the number line, 7/8, we know that it is right here, -7/8, and then -5/6 would be right here. So you can see that on a number line, -7/8 is to the left of -5/6. So even though 7/8 is bigger than 5/6, when we're talking about negative, it actually has less value because it would be to the left of -5/6 on the number line. Okay, so basically on number 2, all you had to do was reverse the order of the fractions from number 1. Okay, so on number 5, hold on, let me go back. I need to go back to the number 3 and 4. Okay, so in number 3, it says put the following numbers in order from least to greatest. Explain the process you used. So on these, we have some that are decimals, some that are fractions. So before we can compare them, we need to take all the ones that were fractions and change them into decimals, because they all have to be decimals or they all have to be fractions in order to compare them. So I did that right here. I changed all of the fractions into decimals. Okay, so my very biggest number, when this says greatest to least, was 1.9. And remember, if we make this into money, that would be like $1.90. That's the most amount of money that we're looking at here. Okay, so 1.90, and then the next one is $1.75. Okay, and then this one we didn't need to convert because it's already a decimal, so $1.74. And then the 1.5 as money, that would be like $1.50, right? If we add a 0 here. And then the 1 3/8, that would be this one right here. And if we were to round this one to the hundredth spot, that would be like $1.38. And then the last one would be $1.09. Okay, so with decimals, it's really easy if you just think about which is the most amount of money down to which is the least amount of money. Okay, and then just like on number 1 and 2, on number 3 and 4, 3 were the positive values of the rational numbers, and on number 4, they were the negative values of the same rational numbers, which means we have to go in the reverse order. Okay, 109 as a positive number is the least, but negative 109 is actually the greatest. Okay, and then you just go in reverse order with a negative 1 9/10 being the very smallest that you have. if you were to order these on a number line. Okay, number 5, you're doing the same thing that we just did. You are ordering these though from greatest to least. So you can see up above here, I took the fractions and I changed them into decimals, because when all of them are decimals, it's easy to compare. So if we're going from greatest to least, when we're talking about negative numbers, the smallest one actually has the greatest value. Okay, so this one right here, negative 4.125, that has the most value. Okay, and then negative 4 and 13 over 100 as a decimal is negative 4 and 1300. You can see that that one is really easy to write. Okay, and then negative 4 and 3/8 as a decimal was negative 4.375. And then we would have negative 4.5 and negative 4.52. So if you were to draw a number line here, and let's say 0's here, and negative 4 is here, and negative 5 is here, well, negative 4.125 would be here, negative 4.13 would be here, negative 4 and 3/8, negative 4.375. Okay, so you can see as we go to the left, the numbers decrease in value. That's why this one is of less value than this one, because it's to the left on the number line. Okay, and then number 6, put the following numbers in order from least to greatest. So again, we're talking about negative numbers. So the bigger the number, if it's negative, it has the least amount of value. Okay, so on these you should have had negative 2, and then the negative 1.6, which is this one right here, the negative 1 3/5. And then you should have had the negative 5.4, and then the negative 1.2, and then the negative 1.087. This one right here is the furthest to the right on the number line. It has the very most value. Okay, and then the last set of questions asked you to provide some numbers that are in between the two given rational numbers. Okay, so on number 7, yours is probably going to be different than mine. So give a number between negative 1 and negative 2. Well, a number that would be between those would be negative 1.5. And you could have came up with something different than I did. I just gave you an example here. Number 8, negative 0.2 and negative 1/4. Well, negative 1/4 as a decimal is negative 0.25. So something in between the negative 0.20 and the negative 0.25 would be negative 0.21. Number 9, give a number between negative 6.1 and negative 6.2. And I just picked negative 6.19. Like I said earlier, you could have picked something different. And number 10, give a number between negative 1 3/4 and negative 1.7. And I chose negative 1.74. Okay, now, as you corrected yours, hopefully you're able to see what you missed, if you missed any. If you have any more questions about ordering rational numbers, please make sure that you come and ask me for some help. Draw a big circle around the ones that you didn't understand and bring it back and let me help you at this point. Okay, go ahead and move on to your next task.